Caribbean.
Hey, welcome to MCU Monday again. The movie club is now watching, or we did watch already, What If, the MTU series that's still playing on Disney Plus if you want to watch it yourself. This is a kind of alternate universe to the 25 movies we watched this year. Okay. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman wearing her little pumpkin earrings a day late. Joel Fenster, who's injured.
Yes.
What is on your shirt, Joel?
I'm wearing my Santa shirt. It's a Santa Claus jacket.
2 months early.
Yep, 2 months early. Yeah, it's November now, so why not start early like everybody else and beat the
Sure.
rush?
And Mark Wotitz Gartner is saying, "What if I was on a beach in
Caribbean, anywhere, any island, I'll take it.
could be Florida?"
Could be.
And Annie King hasn't been traveling. That's it. She's back to school. Can't really go anywhere. All right. So it was 9 episodes, and some I liked better than others. Of course, that's that's what's going to happen with episodic TV like this. And but I have to say, and Amy, I know you're going to agree with me, my head exploded. I'm like, I don't even remember some of the 25 movies we watched. So how am I supposed to remember what if this didn't happen? I'm like, when did that happen? I don't even remember. So this episode really catered to the geeks of the MCU. And anybody who was willing to read up on it afterwards to see what the hell was going on and why this was interesting. Okay, so I'm just going to go one by one, and then I think you guys should just chime in on each episode, because what else are we going to do, right? And this is going to be a 3-hour broadcast, obviously.
Do we have to rate
hours.
each one, or are we just giving a total star for all of them?
I was
No
going
way
with
I
the
could rate each
total.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
okay.
going to go with the total at the end. Aim, do you have like fake Zoom lipstick on, or is that real lipstick?
My Halloween orange lipstick fake.
Okay. All right. So what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? So Agent Carter jumps into the machine and yells, "This is our only chance." But is it really? Because they still have the super juice and the machine is working, right? So I don't get why that was their only chance. But okay, Marvel, that's the only chance. Because we need a what if.
Exactly. If there was no what if Captain Carter became the first Avenger, then
The whole thing unravels before our eyes.
Exactly.
All right. So actually, Anthony watched this episode with me, and after he watched, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not watching this."
I'm done.
Anybody have any other comments on it?
Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah.
It was a great beginning to it. Unfortunately for me, a lot of them kind of went downhill from here. But I still am a sucker for the this romance in particular between Peggy and Steve, and I really thought that they kept it. They did it well.
Yeah.
Joel?
I agree with Mark. It was a great way to start the series because it utilized two characters that people really clung to through the rest of the Marvel universe. And I think it spun in an interesting new direction in this Twilight Zone type show that kind of eventually morphed into something else. But I enjoyed it. So, and I will give, I don't remember the guy's name, but the actor they got to
Play
take
Nerdy
over
Steve.
Captain America from, or to take over Steve Rogers from
Nerdy Steve.
Evans. Yeah, I thought did a nice job. He
Totally agree.
emulated him very nicely as a character, and I didn't feel like I was missing Chris Evans. So, which is not the case with everybody who got replaced.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was a good episode. I like the Hydra Stomper. That was kind of funny. But if they were why couldn't they just make a whole bunch of those then,
What if?
Yes. So it was a good one to start with. It was interesting. I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, and I kind of watched them every week as they were coming out. So it was interesting seeing where it all ended up. Aim, did you watch it all in a binge?
I watch the first 5 every week and then I binged the last 4 yesterday.
Any
So I
thoughts?
don't remember the first 5 at all.
Okay, that was going to be my point. Okay, so episode 2, what if T'Challa became a Star-Lord? Yes, this was fun, and this whole series was kind of Chadwick Boseman's last project, I assume. But in this episode, they got every original actor to record their lines except the very busy Dave Bautista.
Yeah, but you can look up interviews with him online. He was complaining. He said they never contacted him. He would have done it in a heartbeat. So
Okay.
I don't know what's going on there with.
Oh
with
no, because we
them,
love
so,
him.
Yeah, but honestly, that was another voice. I was like, it's not Dave Bautista, but okay, I'll go with it. It wasn't bad.
I could have sworn that was what's his name, Jaman Hanzu, and what's his name, the collector. I could have sworn that those were not the original voices, and I was very surprised that those were them. They just didn't sound like they're themselves.
It
And
happens sometimes.
and for some reason, this series really wants to give Howard Duck his own cartoon. I think.
Seriously.
That's Green, by the way. Yes.
He was supposed to get his own series, his own animated series on Hulu, but it was part of a package deal that most of it got canceled. All we got was Hellstrom, MODOK, and Hitmonkey, which is
And
coming
this
out.
was back when?
That was a couple of years
Current?
ago.
Okay.
Yeah, current. It's current. I mean, but we didn't get it. So
Any thoughts on T'Challa? I know, Mark, you said this was your favorite one.
The first and the second, there was a couple that were my favorites. This is right up there. I thought that in this one, the humor worked for me. Very funny. I loved everyone telling Thanos that he was
that's genocide.
kind of yeah. That, and I like the relationship with Yondu, to see him kind of as a good guy, and how it was all because of T'Challa that he turned. He really did have that a bigger effect. So pretty much everything in this worked for me. I was very happy with this episode.
Yeah,
And-
no, I agree as well. It was a lot of fun, and I loved that complete inversion of how he affected not just Yondu and the Ravagers, but obviously Thanos, and was able to talk him down from his scheme. So and
Yeah,
that worked.
and in this episode, it wasn't creepy that this old man came and got this kid. It wasn't creepy.
Right.
Okay. Episode 3, what if the world lost its mightiest heroes? And at one point, Nick Fury says, "Then you know I'm not afraid of a big swing." And I felt like the show could have used a big swing. I don't think it really had one. I mean, it was a lot of it was like, what if this character replaced that character? This is absolutely a nitpick. It's not a big hoobah. And of course, also in this episode is the thing I always complain about. Black Widow is kicking ass, but each bad guy waited their turn to get kicked instead of all just jumping on her and taking her over. But I like this one was fun too, and the reason why everybody was getting killed was fun too. I liked it. All right, anybody? Was it Michael Douglas or no? It was. All right. Well, he's got nothing else to do anyway.
Wall Street 3? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, I like this one too. Not as much as the first two, but it was very good suspense. I didn't know who the killer was. I
Yeah.
was just waiting for it, and I thought it was a dark when the Wasp. No, sorry, when Black Widow finds out what it is and leaves that cryptic message for Nick Fury. That was good. That was legit good writing. But overall, it was a good episode for me.
Joel, you there too?
yeah, it was a good episode. Not one of my favorites, but not one of my least favorites. So I don't know that I had a least favorite, but
Here's
Anyway.
the thing. This is the thing. So I definitely thought they were just going to be standalone episodes. I did not in any way thought, because remember when I said, Joel, at the end of one of them, I'm like, this one's a cliffhanger. It's going to continue next week. And you were like, no, it's not continuing next week.
and that episode didn't, but it
It
did.
didn't, but it did.
Yeah.
is all I'm saying. So were you just trying to lead me down a path that I was not supposed to go?
Yes.
That's me. That's very mean. That's very mean. All
Sorry.
right. So, okay, next one was, what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Okay, firstly, he didn't lose his hands. He just lost the use of them. It's a little different to
Well,
lose your
yeah,
hands.
it's a metaphorical thing.
That's
Just like
nitpicking.
metaphorically speaking, he didn't really lose his heart in this episode. So,
But he didn't lose his hands either.
well, again, it's metaphorical.
Now, this one I really love because this is another question that I always bring up. Is like, if you had a time machine and you could go back, you could change every single thing you didn't like. You could go back every single time and just change it and change it and change it. But this episode says at the end of it, which I loved, is that whatever is meant to happen is going to happen no matter how much you try to change it. And that I thought was brilliant. I really did. I mean, I think if they could actually stick to that rule, that would be great.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if anything from this episode, and this, by the way, having seen it the entire series twice at this point, is still my favorite episode. Again, partially because Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters, but I love what they did with him here. I think, I'm glad they were able to get everybody back for those specific voices, and I love the touch at the end where now all of a sudden we're breaking that fourth wall with the Watcher, and because it makes sense there. To have this all-powerful sorcerer who now all of a sudden realizes that there's something else beyond his grasp.
Right. The
So-
whole thing, the impression I got in the beginning was the Watcher was exactly that. He wasn't allowed, I
Correct.
don't know why, to help. And now he goes, wait a minute. I think I gotta help a little bit. All right. So, and I actually wrote that right there. See, it says this is probably my favorite one. That's what I wrote. All right. So next was what if zombies? And this had all kinds of stupidness going on. But it was fun. It was fun too. But why? I'm like, why couldn't they? Why? How come they could bite through Iron Man's suit, but they couldn't bite through Hulk's skin? I'm like, why? All right, but I didn't care. It was fun, and this was the one I thought was the two-parter, because it ends with zombie Thanos with all the stones, looking at the camera like, I'll be back, and you were like, no, it's not a two-parter. Shut
Well,
up.
he probably will be back in a sequel episode at some point. The Marvel Zombies is actually a very popular comic book of its own. It had nothing to do with What If or any point. It was just, I won't get into.
Was this before
why-
Walking Dead even?
Yeah, well, maybe around the same time Walking Dead started being published. I mean, it was popular enough that like they made a few action figures based on various zombies.
Funny.
The whole thing with how T'Challa and how he is represented in that particular episode is how he is represented in the comic book. He was being used as zombie food, basically, to keep certain people alive. So it was.
Sorry,
very
Joel, your time is up.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, did you hear that bing at the same
I
time?
That
did.
was a loud
I
ding.
It was my wife texting me. So
Oh, is that what it was?
yeah.
It was fun, and again, didn't seem like it was going anywhere. Next episode, what if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? Now this really, did like this to the timeline and everything, and changed everything, because it totally changed Killmonger's plan for taking over Wakanda. And it seemed like this plan had a bigger scope than the Black Panther movie even had. And we got a little Shang-Chi there, Shang-Chi, because we didn't know when we saw Shang-Chi about the 10 rings and Iron Man and all of that. So it was, we got a little...
But I wouldn't call it anything other than it was referencing what happened in Iron Man 1 with the 10
Yeah, the
rings.
first movie.
yeah,
had
but
nothing to do with-
but
It
we
only has to
didn't...
do with Shang-Chi after the fact.
Right, which we didn't know at the time that Iron Man happened, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure, yes. Well, we knew that we knew the Ten Rings existed. We knew that the Mandarin was in the charge of it by the time we get to Iron Man 3, and then we find out that it's a different Mandarin and not this guy.
Right, right.
So
So it changed that a little bit. And I did really like how they animated some scenes, the actual scenes from the movies. And I'm assuming they just used the same dialogue and the same, they didn't re-record stuff. And Chalibred says that this will all catch up with him eventually. Dun 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 dun. Obviously, we're going for the episodes are going to get related to each other, as contrary to what Joel told me. Anybody comments on Killmonger?
I thought it was very true to his nature. Killmonger, I thought he stayed in character. I thought it was good because that's what he would have done under those circumstances. I thought it was not my favorite episode, but I thought it was a good, solid episode.
Yeah,
My favorite part of that episode was how amazing he looked. Some of the drawings, some of the characters looked exactly like the actor. And there were moments where I went, oh, I don't remember that name, but I remember the face, like Claw.
Mm.
I was like, ah, it must be that guy. And he was so good. Yeah.
Nope.
But Amy, did you feel like now I got to watch all 23 movies again and then watch What If again?
Absolutely. Because I was like, oh.
No, I will never feel that way.
Things came back to me, and no, I would never watch these again, the cartoons. But had I seen all the movies a few times, I would have enjoyed the whole series a lot more.
Yeah, I'm sure Joel and Mark were wetting their
And
pants
Annie.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so next was What If Thor Was an Only Child? This was a fun episode, really, very fun episode.
This was my least
Ragnarok.
favorite, and I love Thor.
It was your least favorite?
Yeah, it was just too much humor. It was to the point it was stupid.
over
And
the top.
me, who loves
Yeah.
humor, right?
This episode encapsulates everything that our friend Barry
Barry,
complains
right.
about in the
I was thinking
MCU,
about him.
and I
was
don't think
thinking
he's
about him.
justified in anything else. But
Yeah.
here he is. He would be if
Yes.
you actually seen it.
Did he write the episode?
Yeah. It's again, it's not my least favorite episode, but it was fun. But it was too over the top in a lot of areas, and just kind of like, and I think they kind of needed to go there because they needed some balance between the darker episodes, like the Doctor
Yeah,
Strange episode and the Killmonger episode, and the
Yeah, this was
zombie
definitely
episode.
a more fun episode, and maybe it was subtitled "What If Marvel Went Crazy, Went Too
Right.
Far." And
I
so
I like they said Spicoli.
Yeah.
I
That was
missed
good.
that. What did they
That was good.
say?
There was when Nick Fury went to see what was going on and stop Thor. This is Maria Hill's telling what happened to Nick Fury. He referred to Thor as Spicoli.
Oh my God, I totally didn't hear that. Fuck. That's great.
So,
Watch it again.
That's great.
so now we are moving towards an alternate end game, and but we had the whole little battle with Captain Marvel versus Thor. Don't you think that's how it would actually end up? In not an alternate universe?
I think she would have won a little more
She
easily.
kicks his ass, and yeah. And Ultron shows up, but he's in an Ultron Iron Man suit thing. Did he steal
He's the Vision, the
Vision.
Vision body.
his vision?
Yeah.
And now we're gonna form the multiverse Avengers. And Ultron collects the stones from Thanos, so now he is invincible. Yay. Next, What If Ultron 1 is the next episode. And now this is where the Watcher really gets involved. And he goes to Doctor Strange to resemble the Guardians of the Universe. Is that what we're calling them?
The Guardians of the Multiverse.
Of the multiverse. So is this going to lead into the Doctor Strange thing?
Anything's possible. I mean, we have no idea what's really going on with the whole multiverse aspect of things, so we don't know how any of that's going to play into the next couple of movies. And unfortunately, we have to wait longer now because Marvel can't get their shit together. So
It's the virus's fault.
yes, it's the virus's fault. So, but I The last two, are we jumping into the last two
Yeah,
episodes? as
sure,
one?
go
Okay.
ahead.
The-
Yeah,
And the
basically,
last
it's
one
a
is
continued
called-
episode. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
is the
that, those
continued.
last two are really a
Yeah, they
continuation.
definitely did. And the last one was called What If the Watcher Broke His Oath?
Yeah.
To not interfere, but he does. And that's what it is.
I had a few issues. I don't want to call it my biggest issue. I really
So
didn't.
Joel, let's go back a second, just for a second, to you said all of this was comic books. So
Yes.
are they seriously diverging from that? Is that going to be your issue?
It's part of it, but to an extent. So in the comic books, the Watcher was actually introduced in an old issue of Fantastic Four in the 60s. And
We don't know
you
who they are. We've never seen them.
correct. Well, actually, we've seen them in the movies. The Watchers appear in one scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with Stan
No, I
Lee.
meant the Fantastic Four.
Oh, the Fantastic Four. Yes. No, we've never seen them.
Yes, the Watchers are in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
With that
he's-
wonderful Stanley.
Right. And he's been used over the years in stories where he's watching, he never gets involved. You know how like Kirk never breaks the Prime Directive on Star Trek, and yet every other week he's breaking the Prime Directive on Star Trek. But eventually the Watcher kind of fell into this Rod Serling-esque character where he was introducing stories in the what if vein. And it was a comic book called What If? What if Rick Jones became the Hulk? I'm not going to explain who Rick Jones is. He's not in the
Please
movie.
don't.
So I don't care. But anyway,
It's long enough already.
right. So, but it was a lot of stories like that. With this, the creators of the TV series decided not to adapt anything from the comics that had been in What If, because the MCU is very different from Marvel Comics. So they wanted to play on that a lot. But they still threw in the whole zombie thing because they know that fans wanted to see the zombies.
So they took the basic premise of the What If series and applied it to their MCU.
Correct.
Okay.
So when we get to these last two episodes, there's a bunch of things going on that kind of pulled me out of it. And now having seen the show twice, I don't know. I mean, I'd watch a second season, but I don't know that I'd go back and watch the first season again. It's not like it's like, it almost becomes Thor: The Dark World for me at this point. It's kind of like
Wow.
it's something to disappoint me that I'm not really necessarily going to recover from per se. The first being talking about other bringing in other actors to do voices. I think Ross Marquand, who replaced the Red Skull in both the last two Avengers movies as well as this, also replaced James Spader as Ultron, and it does not work at all. There is something about James Spader's voice and portrayal that is so distinct and unique. He's not able to capture it at all. And Ultron for me in this, it being the big villain, is just a major fail in that sense. I also don't like, and as a comic book geek, and this gets a little odd, Marvel was never really big on a multiverse until recently. Yes, there were stories that took place in other universes, but there wasn't a lot of crossover back and forth, and they didn't really use that term until recently. DC had been using it for eons because you had Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth S, Earth 3, Earth Prime, Earth X, Earth this, Earth that.
And that was called the multiverse?
It was called the multiverse. And
so they stole it?
Well, yes and no. If you think of it in that sense, DC eventually stole the Watcher in the 80s and created a character called the Monitor. Although Marv Wolfman, who created him, will say that he actually created him 18 years prior to that and just didn't get around to using him. But anyway, the Monitor is essentially like the Watcher, but in the 80s, DC used him in a 12-issue miniseries called The Crisis on Infinite Earths, where the Monitor chose a team of heroes to battle the evil villain, in this case, the Anti-Monitor, whatever that's worth, and stop him from destroying all of reality. So here we've got Ultron using the Infinity Stones to destroy all of reality, and the Watcher is choosing a team of superheroes across the multiverse to stop him. It was like, I'm like, Marvel is just remaking the Crisis down to like, minuscule plot points, things like the pocket universe that Doctor Strange winds up in the end with Killmonger and Ultron is like at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where the Superboy of Earth Prime winds up in a pocket universe with the Superman and Lois of Earth 2. It's a lot of repetition that almost feels like a ripoff to me.
All right, so but Joel, to those of us who didn't know all of that, the
Yeah, you're not gonna
episode
give a
was
shit.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, this is my point of view. At the
Right.
end of the day, it kind of pulled me out of things. It made me
Because you
not
were like,
care.
hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, and I was liking the idea of the Watcher in that Rod Serling, kind of way. And I don't mind him being pulled into a story here and there, but to jump into that so quickly kind of pulled it out. And it's like, well, now that you've done that, where are you going with the second season of this?
Right.
Because you can't really have him go back to being, the Watcher per
just
se.
the-
He's already broken his oath. So
Yeah, but then he could be like, okay, now I'm gonna really behave.
yeah, right.
What and do you think he's gonna show up in Doctor Strange?
No idea. I haven't heard
Jeffrey
any
Wright
rumors
could
of-
have another job.
and it would be nice. He's easily, one of the best parts of the show. But I haven't heard any rumors about that, so who knows?
Right. So, Joel, I didn't have anything really to say about the last thing, except, everybody kind of got a happy ending. They went back to the part of the universe that they were happy in, kind of thing, multiverse, whatever. But then there was, of course, a mid-credit sequence to set up season 2, and it should have just said Captain Carter will return.
Well, they've kind of said that if you watch interviews with the people involved in the show, and there is
I don't.
I know you don't, but there is a making of on Disney Plus under their assembled show, and they talk about the fact that they're going to revisit the more popular ones in season 2. So I assume Captain Carter will be back. The zombies will be back. I assume that if Chadwick Boseman had not unfortunately passed away, that there'd be more of Star-Lord T'Challa.
So it's unfortunate for him and for us.
Yes, but the rest of them I don't really care about. So
Nice. All right, so Joel, do you want to give us an overall starage?
I'm going to give it 3 stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3 stars too. I liked it fine. And
Yeah.
again, like I said at the beginning, there were some I liked better than others, and ultimately I'm not watching it again, but I'll give it 3 stars. All right, Joel. Anything else, Joel, you want to
No,
complain
I,
about?
think I covered everything, I think.
I think, well, and it was nice that Stan Lee got to make a cameo. They could have animated him, put something in there.
That's Howard the Duck's the new cameo. So
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna
I think-
say Howard the Duck is the new Stan Lee.
Me
I
too.
think Kevin Feige specifically said that now that Stan is gone, there will be no more jokes or insertions of him as,
Yeah.
like he's done out of respect for Stan.
No,
I
not
agree.
out of respect for the audience.
Yeah.
That's not right.
And what do you got?
So I watched the first 5 each week, and then I don't know why, but I didn't have time to go back. And then
Because
so,
you were on Amy's schedule, obviously.
Yeah, really.
but what I did was binge watch them the last 3 days. So I kind of did 3, 3, and 3, or 3, 4, and 2, whatever. And they were fine as I was watching them each week, but to watch all of them kind of continuously was a little much. It was like, okay, and I was like, all right. So I did like it. I gave it a 3 1/4. I thought it was fun to watch. It was different, definitely. It helped knowing, having watched all the movies to understand the what if.
Yeah, I
But-
think Amy was right. I mean, though the 3 of you seen them multiple times, for us, it was just second. Some of them I watched this second time. This is my second time, but most of them I just watched this one time. So
Yeah. So I like you said, I don't know if I would go back and watch any of them. And there was some that I liked more than others, but I don't know if I would rewatch them. They were fun though. while watching them.
Aim, was it homework?
Yeah. When I first heard about this show months ago, I was really excited and really disappointed to see it wasn't starting at the time until August. I was like, I can't wait. I was hoping, one of the things I was hoping for was that each, or not everyone, but sometimes the animation styles would change. It was always this very serious type, beautiful animation. That's the type I was never a fan of. And the mouths always drive me crazy. It never looks like they're talking. And like you all said, I liked some better than others. I did not expect it to all tie up together in the last 2 episodes. I really enjoyed the last 2 episodes because of that. But I would give it 2.25 stars, and it really was homework. And yesterday after number 7, I was like, I'm not going to bother. And then I went, well, of course I have to. And I was really glad I did. But I'm just not a big enough fan. And had I really known the movies and remembered them and wasn't an idiot, I would have liked it, like Frank said, like I said, a lot more. So I totally understand you guys loving it.
It's interesting that you said that about the like they could have used different styles of animation in different episodes. I think
I expected that at
might
the
have
beginning,
been-
yeah.
that might have been an interesting thing, but then it would have detracted from the sense that they were all related, even though
Right.
it was multiverse. They're in the same universe. So
Right, as I was watching it, I was hoping for it. At the end, I was like, well, it wouldn't have
well
worked.
then, yeah, that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Mark G, how's the reception on the beach there?
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna go 3 stars. It was originally 2.75, but I'm begrudgingly giving it 3. I'm gonna say the same thing as pretty much everyone else. It was fun for me. It was good. Just like Joel and Annie, I got all the references, and as a comic book fan, I get what they were doing. For me, what missed was 2 things. I guess some of the episodes were just the Thor episode, and I apologize to Joel. I actually did not. The Doctor Strange episode, I couldn't wait for it to be over.
It
Purely
was a
because
little monotonous
boring.
and him
It was
like
boring
ground,
to me.
but
I get
not
the
in
message,
a
like-
funny, not in a funny
Right.
Groundhog Day kind of way where things.
Right.
It was just like okay.
They went,
And
they
they-
went for
they
the
did that-
Lovecraft aspect, so it was
Yeah,
nice
but
to see that,
You'd
but-
think he would avoid the bridge the next time.
Right.
Well, I did like that continually happening. And I did think, so don't go out, stop going out. And then
Yeah.
of course he stopped and she still died. So I like that
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
And but to me, in Doctor Strange the movie, when he had a Dormammu in a loop and he kept doing the same thing over and over again, I was like, all right, we've seen this already with this character, and I get why they're doing it, and I agree with you, Frank, saying that it was a good ending and so forth, and I was okay with him breaking the 4th wall there, with seeing the Watcher. I just couldn't wait for it to be over. I was like, oh my God, stop repeating it already. That was just me. The other part I didn't like actually is just like Joel said. Part of me liked the tying in at the end, but the other part of me said, all right, now that it's the MCU, so you're going to have a through line for everything you do now? Like, I get it, it all have to come together, but I would have preferred if they really were all one-off episodes. That's how it is in the comic book, and I think they should have left it true to that. So them trying to tie it in, and I get it, it was cute, and I think for the general audience, you'll like it all tying together, and I appreciated that too, somewhat, but I would rather have just seen each episode on its own.
I can see that.
And lastly, the zombies, I found out, I read afterwards that it was a thing. I had no idea that was a thing in the comics. And I thought that one, while I think Frank, you said it was kind of dumb. It was, but it was also really fun for me. I actually really enjoyed. That was one of my top episodes, actually.
Yeah,
Mark,
I
you
definitely
probably
thought that
enjoy
was
the
fun.
comic books.
Just silly, I guess.
Huh?
The comics are just silly, I guess.
They're
the
they're,
zombie.
they're a lot of fun. It really inverts the entire Marvel universe into this weird zombie thing, and the fact that you're following a group of heroes who have not been zombified, and then the reasoning why the zombie plague happens is very complicated and has to do with a lot of other things. I like the fact that they simplified it for this and made it make sense within the MCU, but it's interesting seeing who turned so quickly and then how those zombies actually interact with the still living heroes, and then who gets turned as the series continues on and stuff. It's kind of fun and goofy. So
Yeah, great. And just to nerd out for a second to you, Frank, the Hulk, similar to Wolverine, they technically heals very quickly. and neither of them can really be turned into something else. There was a great storyline in the X-Men with an alien race called the Brood that would basically, they ripped off Alien, that they would come in and basically inject your body with a host alien and you turn into them. And they did that to Wolverine, and he started turning, and then his body rejected it because he can heal so fast. Same thing with the Hulk. He's not only practically invulnerable, but he heals really fast. So he could never be turned into a zombie. So that's my answer to you.
Nerd alert.
Happily. Yep.
So they ripped off DC Comics.
Who had ripped them off. So, I mean, it's constant back and forth between the two
Right.
companies,
Right. And okay, so that's good. Everybody happy with their contribution here today?
No, not at all.
Joel, you did geek out a little bit there.
I did.
I feel bad actually that you didn't like it because you were so caught up in the fact that they were ripping off DC.
And the thing is, we watched it every week as the episodes dropped, and then Natasha and I binged the whole thing yesterday again. And it didn't bother me as much yesterday because I was able to kind of, get
You
over
got over your initial shock.
Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, it's not really doing much for me. I prefer the Twilight Zone aspect of it as opposed to this aspect of it. And it did, the further we got along yesterday,
they tried to turn it into a regular Marvel movie.
yeah, and the further we got along with it yesterday, the more it felt like homework. Like by the time we got to, actually, I take that back. I had seen the Captain Carter episode and the Thor episode an extra time each because Duncan wanted to watch something, and I had to find things that I knew he'd like. So, and it just, by that point, it felt like homework to me. And it
Yeah,
did
but
kinda
this
take-
is the thing, Joel. They should really be listening to you because they made the series for you. So they did. They obviously did. They're like, we
okay.
have all these comics we're not gonna do in the movies, so let's make a TV show out of the What If. And it seems like the perfect idea.
I think I trust the people at Marvel Studios to handle what they're doing. I may be disappointed at times. I may not agree with them at times, but they have earned my trust. DC has a long way to go at this point.
Sure.
And that's coming from a DC fan.
I feel the same way every time I watch a Barbra Streisand movie.
I was just gonna I was gonna say, imagine you watching a Barbra Streisand movie or something and they did her wrong. We'd all be like, it's a great movie. And you'd be like, nah, Barbara would never do that. I totally thought that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I go in with the biggest judgy hat on, and I can't really enjoy it because I'm like, it has to be perfect. And then later on, I'm like, all right, it wasn't so bad.
I'm
So
not
that's it.
expecting perfect. I'm just
Right.
expecting it to not be stupid. I'm expecting to not be like, I respect the fact that Zack Snyder had a vision that he tried to get across. I didn't agree with it. He made some huge mistakes and then he got fucked over by Warner Brothers. But, I respect the fact that he tried to do something, but it's like the
And then
rest
he
of
tried
what
to
they're trying
fix
do is-
it, and nobody cared still.
Well, at that point, nobody was gonna care. His version of Justice League is infinitely better than the theatrical release. But
But-
at this point, it doesn't matter.
And it's still
Unless you're
not-
gonna go back and fix everything. Who
But
cares?
it's still not good.
Yeah, no, it was.
Let's
Better.
get back on topic
Yeah.
here.
What's
separate
next
topic.
week, Frank?
Oh yeah, next
Wait.
week.
Before you go to next week, my last little bit is not only did I love Jeffrey Wright, but anybody who watched Westworld know that Odin actually created the Watcher.
That's funny.
Spoiler alert.
Jeffrey
I am the
Wright is an
Watcher.
amazing actor who, he's now traversed so many different franchises. He's in part of the MCU. He's part of the
Bond.
James Bond movies, and he's part of the DCU coming up because he'll be in. He's Commissioner Gordon in the next Batman movie. So
Ooh, he'd be
That's fine.
perfect.
Wow.
yeah, the rest of it looks like I don't know, but he
I
looks
got
great.
a little distracted, and I heard you say he was in the Jane Fonda movie. I'm like, what?
He
James
might have
Bond.
been. I don't know. Yes, James Bond. He might have been in a Jane Fonda movie. I don't think so, but you never know.
All right, so
Make it
next
happen.
week we start our Spider-Man adventure. We're gonna watch every Spider-Man movie in the order they were released. until a new one arrives in December. We will be visiting the Eternals along the way, which is not getting great reviews right now.
And it's long,
And it's long.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
And well, we've had quite a few Marvel
Oh, I
movies. be
know,
that long.
but you know, by that point you got to those 2 hour and 40 minutes movies, you had invested in like 18 other movies by that point.
So
these
we're
are
getting
really
2 hours and 40 minutes without investment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it, right? Okay, great. Love seeing all of you. And is that it?
Aren't we doing a what if thing next? It's where, you know, what if like Mark was Joel and Frank was Amy and
Wow. Next week I will review as Joel.
That's funny.
Well, MCU next week.
And also with you.